Here, let me just get a good...
I got to go to Rome, design it with everyone at Valentino, and it was just a dream.
Mark Antony asks the most beautifulest woman in the room to come to the stage. And then he says, Victoria, come to the stage. Nicola leaves the room crying her eyes out.
I see an amazing guy with an amazing heart.
Mine is just having you. What is my biggest fear?
Oh, I don't know that. I don't know anyone.
You don't?
Brooklyn Beckham and Nicola Peltz have been feuding with the Beckhams since 2022, and while everyone tried to play nice for the sake of family, Brooklyn didn't hold back when he went on a 6-page Instagram story rant attempting to expose his family. Then, he went on what seemed like a staged paparazzi stroll with Nicola on the beach. Brooklyn claimed he was controlled by his family, then promptly threw his mother under the bus, accusing her of hijacking his first dance with Nicola, dancing inappropriately, and insisting that the reason he and Nicola renewed their wedding vows was to make up for the humiliation they felt on their wedding day. You know, the same wedding that reportedly cost $3 million and had not 1 or 2 wedding planners step down, but 3. While he expressed a lot of frustration, many of his claims were proven to be lies, like the claim that Victoria Beckham backed out of making Nicola's wedding dress at the last minute, forcing Nicola to scramble for a new one. Other claims like Nicola running out of the wedding in tears were confirmed, and now the wedding's DJ and butler are speaking out. Between the unhinged comments, exposed lies, Brooklyn getting caught talking to the press, and Nicola's very shady past coming back up, there is a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Angela here, and for months there have been reports swirling about how bad things are getting with Brooklyn Beckham and his family, which includes his parents and siblings. Even young 14-year-old Harper wasn't saved, as she was reportedly blocked by Brooklyn in his mass blocking spree. In this video, I'm going to break down all the details, including everything Brooklyn said in his statement, his family's reactions, and Nicola's convenient role as the quiet little lamb who apparently yearns for privacy. Brooklyn accuses his family of going to the press about Nicola, but keep watching because I have proof that it's actually Brooklyn who's spilling to the press, and he probably should have covered his tracks before speaking publicly. So before we get started, be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every single week, put those post notifications on so you don't miss the live chat premiere we do for every single video, follow us on our social media, and without further ado, let's get into this crazy drama. What started it all? The wedding. To understand Brooklyn's Instagram expose, one has to know what led up to it. A few years ago, we made a video about their wedding drama, so check it out for more information. Long story short, the Beckham vs. Peltz feud reached a peak at their April 2022 wedding in Palm Beach, Florida, held at the oceanfront home of Nicola's father, billionaire investor Nelson Peltz. A few main things happened at the time, so to recap. Nicola and Brooklyn decided to combine their names to be Nicola and Brooklyn Peltz Beckham, a gesture that seemed to turn off David and Victoria, who congratulated them as Brooklyn and Nicola Beckham. Nicola posted 2 heavy Instagram posts captioned, "Family is everything to me," while conveniently leaving out Brooklyn's entire family. Reports suggested that the Beckhams weren't involved in the whole wedding and they were not placed at the main family table with Nicola's family, something Brooklyn confirms today. Other reports talked about Mark Antony calling Victoria and Brooklyn up on the stage for a dance, one that had Nicola running out in tears, a story we also see referenced today. Victoria Beckham didn't design Nicola's wedding dress, even though original reports stated she would. At the time, Nicola said there is no feud and that Victoria's atelier couldn't make it in time. In an interview with Vogue, Nicola laughed at the suggestion that she and Brooklyn were drawing inspiration from David and Victoria's wedding, saying that their wedding was incredible and the pictures were iconic, but the wedding we were most inspired by was Iman and David's. In August 2022, Nicola appeared on the cover of Tatler, where she discusses the pressure Brooklyn feels around his career and reveals that he often seeks advice from her billionaire father. Nicola's family crashed her honeymoon with Brooklyn in the south of France, while the Beckhams vacationed in Croatia. So already, we have a sort of theme where the Beckhams are left out and it's becoming an us versus them type of situation. Now, at the time of the wedding, there were reports that Nicola was the worst to work with, and I think that's evidenced by multiple wedding planners dropping Nicola. First, Preston Bailey, who is known to pull off some impressive celeb weddings, stepped down from his role in organizing the big day with just 6 weeks to go. Then came Ariana and Nicole from Planned Design Events. Only 9 days after they were employed, their contract was reportedly terminated in what the lawsuit described as a day of reckoning. Nicola's billionaire father sued them for his deposit that they didn't return, and a settlement was reached in September 2023. Michelle Ragos finally took over the wedding planning, but Nicola gave her mom credit, telling Vogue, "I have to hand it to my mom, who really put this whole thing together. Luckily, we have the same taste." In the years that followed, there were a lot of speculation about a feud, one that Nicola shut down, telling the Sunday Times in October 2022 that it's not a feud. I keep seeing everywhere that word, feud, feud, feud. I don't know why they say feud. I mean, maybe they picked up on something and now they're labeling it feud. No family is perfect. So that is the wedding era and drama summarized. Now in 2025, the drama was boiling up, leading to Brooklyn's Instagram rant. The 2025 family feud, Brooklyn's blocking spree, and lawyers to communicate. Over the next couple of years following the wedding, Nicola and Brooklyn became less present at key Beckham family milestones, namely David Beckham's 50th birthday bash in May 2025 and from his early birthday party in Miami on March 30th. Nicola was notably missing from Victoria's 50th birthday bash the year before in April 2024, but Nicola made sure to clear up any issues, posting this photo of the Beckham family and writing, "Happy birthday to my beautiful mother-in-law at Victoria Beckham. I'm so sad I'm not there to celebrate with you and hug you. Sending all my love for me and my nanny. I miss you all so much." She had also posted for Victoria's birthday on Instagram a few days before. However, in 2025, they were absent from most, if not all, family events, including Victoria's Paris Fashion Week show, Romeo's 23rd birthday party, and so much more. And by April 9th, the Beckham family does not publicly acknowledge Brooklyn and Nicola's third wedding anniversary. By late 2025, several outlets reported that Brooklyn had blocked his parents and siblings, including his young sister Harper, who is the innocent party here. Even after Nicola and Brooklyn missed David's 50th birthday bash and didn't acknowledge the occasion on social media, David shared an Instagram story on May 5th from a fishing trip he planned 6 months earlier for his birthday, posing with his sons Cruz and Romeo, and captioned the story, "You were missed at Brooklyn Peltz Beckham." A few weeks later, on May 25th, Brooklyn posts an Instagram story of himself and Nicola appearing to take a dig at his parents with the caption, "I always choose you." On August 2nd, Nicola and Brooklyn renewed their vows without any members of the Beckham family present at the ceremony. By summer 2025, there were reports that Brooklyn sent a legal notice to David and Victoria asking that all communication be routed through lawyers. At the time, a source said that Brooklyn felt like his wishes were not being respected, saying he believed his parents continued to reference him online instead of contacting him privately. David and Victoria, meanwhile, were described as struggling to understand the situation while still trying to keep the door open. Keep in mind that I couldn't find anything about Victoria or David shading or doing anything badly to Brooklyn and Nicola, and the only source of these allegations are through Brooklyn. And as we know here on Scandalous Media, the ones who are always accusing but have a mountain of lies backing them followed up with no evidence are usually the aggressor. But let's keep an open mind here as I lay down the facts. On October 8th, Nicola and Brooklyn do not attend the red carpet premiere of Victoria Beckham's Netflix documentary. By December 2025, there were reports that David and Victoria unfollowed Brooklyn as it's revealed that he'll spend Christmas with Nicola and her billionaire parents. Reports that Brooklyn's younger brother Cruz directly replied on Instagram, sharing the screenshot and writing, "Not true. My mom and dad would never unfollow their son. Let's get the facts right. They woke up blocked, as did I." In July 2025, Brooklyn unfollowed his brothers Romeo and Cruz, despite having just wished his sister Harper a happy birthday on Instagram, using a photo of him and Nicola posing with Harper and writing, "Happy birthday Harper, we love you," and tagging Nicola in the post. Now at the time, it was said that he unfollowed his brothers because Romeo and Cruz were apparently shading Brooklyn. I'm going to tell you what they said, and you let me know if that counts as shade or not. In July 2025, Romeo took to Instagram stories to post, "Life is too short, love who you love and tell them how much you really do. Life can flash before your eyes at any moment, but the people that truly love you and care for you will always be there. Don't hold back from love or appreciation for anything or anyone." Keep in mind that that post came after he and his girlfriend Kim Turnbull broke up, as well as the passing of Liverpool footballer Diogo Jota and his brother, so people interpreted his post about being about that rather than shade. Romeo had also reposted a snap from the Audrey Hepburn film Roman Holiday, including the famous line, "What the world needs is a return to sweetness and decency." Below the photo, he wrote, "Be nice to people and don't tell unnecessary lies," alongside a kissy face emoji. In May, Cruz shared a message that read, "It takes 43 muscles in your face to frown and 17 to smile." He then added, "Be kind and tell the truth." What's the verdict? Shade, or is Brooklyn triggered by everything? You tell me. Now for context, there were claims that Romeo and Brooklyn's feud started over Romeo dating Brooklyn's ex-girlfriend. Romeo was dating Kim Turnbull, who actually shut down the rumors, saying that she has never been romantically involved with Brooklyn in any capacity and that it never extended past a school friendship. In April 2025, Romeo wrote in a now deleted Instagram comment that Brooklyn and Kim never dated. So that's the entire timeline and context behind the feud. Let's now get into what Brooklyn said in his Instagram stories and the lies he's so far been exposed for. Brooklyn's Instagram ramble, his lies and Nicola exposed. Brooklyn started off his Instagram rant saying, "I have been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed." Right off the bat, he's doing the Prince Harry special, which is accusing his family of going to the press, unaware that the press speaks to literally everyone and it could genuinely be any source talking. In the case of Brooklyn and Nicola, his family hasn't said anything directly, and I don't think there's any proof that they have, considering any negative mention about Nicola and Brooklyn usually comes from behind the scenes people. For example, Nicola's former hairstylist, Justin Anderson, has always made his feelings clear about Nicola, calling her the worst of the worst in 2019 after an altercation between the pair in which she claimed he burnt her hair off. He even commented under an Instagram post saying, "Brooklyn's wife was one of the worst celebs I've ever worked with. It's her 100. She's a bad apple, red flag emoji. Everyone knows how close the Beckham family really is." Justin then seems to attack Nicola in the place where it hurts, her lack of relevancy and fame. Sure, she comes from a billionaire family, but she's not a big star, and he says that, hitting back at the claims that he wants attention by saying, "If I wanted attention, I would talk about really big people, you know." Justin doubled down on his past comments about Nicola, saying, "She's not nice. I can say with my full chest, not good energy. Based on how many wedding planners she went through, I think she's the issue." He captioned his Instagram story saying, "I thought she wasn't a thing anymore when I talked about her, but then she married into a very famous family." Of his past relationship with Nicola, he explained how he perked up when he saw that they were getting married. "I'm like, oh gosh, this is not going to be good for that family. Spooky energy." I don't even feel bad saying that. When someone is not nice, it always comes out. You can't hide that. In 2019, Justin went on a podcast branding Nicola as a diva and vowing he would never work with her again. Just for context, he's worked with bigger stars like Miley Cyrus, Jennifer Aniston, and Katy Perry. Justin Anderson isn't the only one either who's reacting to the Beckham drama. Alana Hadid, the sister of Anwar Hadid, who dated Nicola years ago, replied to a comment that said, ending an 8-paragraph rant about his family's dirty laundry with, "All we want is privacy is all I need to know." She then said, "Right? And that girl doesn't want privacy. She's been trying to be famous for a decade," followed by 4 laughing emojis. Anwar and Nicola dated from 2016 to 2018. When they dated, Nicola was 22 and Anwar was 17. Their romance reportedly ended due to strained family relations with Anwar and his mother Yolanda Hadid, aka what's going on right now with Brooklyn and his mother. Sources felt like Nicola used the Hadid family name, especially during a time when Bella and Gigi Hadid were the most in-demand catwalk stars. Yet barely a year later, Nicola and Anwar broke up. She unfollowed the Hadid clan on Instagram, and sources alleged that Nicola was controlling and that Yolanda Hadid tried to stage an intervention to essentially make Anwar see the light. As someone who has been in the celebrity gossip game for 13 years, trust me when I tell you, Nicola has a horrible reputation in Hollywood, and I've heard consistent bad information about her for years. In 2018, I answered a question on our old Ask box saying, "Expose Nicola," and I said, "Can't stand her, she's vile, but yeah, really pretty." In 2019, I said, "Ugh, she's a bitch, she's horrible." So trust me, Brooklyn, your parents aren't the ones talking about her negatively in the press, but everyone else is. Speaking of talking to the press, I have proof that it's Brooklyn who's actually been rambling to the press about his family, so keep watching. He continued, "I don't want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled, I'm standing up for myself for the first time in my life." If you have to say you're not being controlled, it kinda implies you are being controlled. And this is him responding back to the general public's consensus that Nicola essentially controls Brooklyn and the long-standing story that Nicola dates younger men because they're easier to control. Nicola, 31, is 4 years older than Brooklyn, who is 26 and turning 27 in March. The way he phrases everything, talking about standing up for myself for the first time, makes him come across like some kind of victim. That really turned a lot of people off, especially considering his privileged upbringing and the support his parents gave him, only for him to give us mid-cooking recipes and badly taken photos, which I'll talk about in the next portion of the video. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, and inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into.
Dad got me this for Christmas. I call it a Rolex Pepsi. I really like vintage Rolexes, like the old Submariners, the old Steve McQueen Submariners.
Recently, I have seen with my own eyes the lengths that they'll go through to place countless lies in the media, mostly at the expense of innocent people, to preserve their own facade, but I believe the truth always comes out. He doesn't offer any examples or proof of the countless lies in the media, and unfortunately for him, the truth did come out, and it wasn't on his side. My parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding, and it hasn't stopped. My mom canceled making Nicola's dress in the 11th hour, despite how excited she was to wear her dress, forcing her to urgently find a new dress. Before you allege such a lie, make sure British Vogue didn't cover the entire wedding first, and that your wife doesn't dispute your claims. Brooklyn tries to make it seem like Nicola was scrambling for a last-minute wedding dress, but Vogue writes that her custom wedding look is the culmination of a year's worth of conversations with Valentino creative director Piero Paolo Piccioli's team, 2 trips to Rome headquarters, and 2 US fittings. The head seamstress even journeyed to Miami to make sure every detail was immaculate on the big day. It was branded the ultimate couture experience.
My favorite outfit I've ever worn is my wedding dress. I got to go to Rome and design it with everyone at Valentino, and it was just a dream.
So what is the truth?
Nicola herself disputed the feud in October 2022, saying, "I think it all started, and I've said this before, because I didn't end up wearing Victoria's wedding dress. But the real truth is, I really wanted to wear it, and I thought it was so beautiful that Brooklyn's mom got to make that for me." But then she continues, saying that Victoria called her mother and said she couldn't make the dress because her atelier couldn't make the dress in time. She then called rumors of a feud ridiculous. So it seemed like there was communication behind why Victoria couldn't make the dress, and that Nicola's actual dress was in the works for a year. Is it possible that Victoria didn't want to make the dress for her own reasons? Of course, but it doesn't mean that she left her hanging to intentionally sabotage her. She clearly let her know ahead of time that she couldn't make it. Brooklyn continues, claiming that weeks before the wedding, his parents repeatedly pressured and attempted to bribe him into signing away the rights to his name, saying that it would have affected him, his wife, and future children. They were adamant on me signing before my wedding date because then the terms of the deal would be initiated. My holdout affected the payday, and they have never treated me the same since. I think Brooklyn is being vague on purpose. He keeps using extremely loaded language like bribed and signing away my name, but never actually explains the terms of the agreement. Instead, he's relying on that wording to position himself as the oppressed party in the media. And something tells me that the billionaire's daughter, who's previously been surrounded by rumors like pushing her nanny down the stairs, claims her family denied, likely plays a much bigger role in this full-blown Beckham expose than he's letting on. No documents, no specifics, no confirmation that this wasn't just a standard branding or management contract, something he's benefited from his entire life. If the deal was so dangerous, why not explain it clearly? Or why not just say, we disagreed on management terms? Obviously, with Brooklyn not wanting to carry the family name and instead include the Peltz name, it's going to cause some disagreement from a branding and management perspective. You can't be mad that the empire your parents have built, that allowed you to have a hobby as an amateur chef, are looking out for you and their brand as well. I guarantee you, if David and Victoria cut off Brooklyn and told him to get his ass to work, he would complain about that too. During the wedding planning, my mom went so far as to call me evil because Nicola and I chose to include my nanny Sandra and Nicola's nanny at our table because they both didn't have their husbands. Both of our parents had their own tables equally adjacent to ours. Imagine being the parents of the groom and not being allowed to sit on the family table with everyone else because your son wanted his nanny there and his questionable wife wanted, on top of everyone else from her side on that table, also her nanny. This was one of the reports that I covered in my 2022 breakdown of what went wrong at the wedding, but you can't tell me there wasn't a malicious vibe here painted over but
they didn't have their husbands
excuse. Sorry, this was vile, and once again, it doesn't look like the work of Brooklyn alone. And when you factor in that this was just one of many issues surrounding the wedding, it starts to feel less like isolated drama and more like a coordinated effort to deliberately sideline the Beckhams altogether, which is probably why this next part hit such a nerve. The night before our wedding, members of my family told me that Nicola was not blood and not family. Since the moment I started standing up for myself with my family, I've received endless attacks from my parents, both privately and publicly, that were sent to the press on their orders. He's sounding more and more like Prince Harry every day. As we've established, there hasn't been anything published in the press that comes from the Beckham circle, and like I've been saying for a decade on my blog, Nicola has a bad rep. She's probably in his head like,
Your family's out to get me. Look at these lies being published in the press.
When in reality, if you actually trace these stories to their sources, they often come from people outside the Beckham circle who've had negative experiences with Nicola over the years. And the timing here matters. In the years after the wedding, both Victoria and Nicola went out of their way publicly to show how close they were, praising each other, dancing together, and presenting a united front. That directly undercuts Brooklyn's claim. At the very least, it makes everyone involved look hypocritical, because if that was all branding and performance meant to shut down the rumors, then Brooklyn and Nicola willingly participated in the same PR game he's now accusing his family of playing against him. And Preston Bailey, the original wedding planner, said that if there was tension behind the scenes at the wedding, you'd never know it in the run-up to the event. So it's not like anybody was talking badly about Nicola behind the scenes to even say that they were sending this information to the press. Preston Bailey said, "It surprises me that he is taking this stand against his parents. That's not the Brooklyn I met as far as him being this nice, gentle guy. He was just a nice, regular person who would say hello and chit-chat." And yet the Brooklyn we see today is someone who is very accusatory and angry, one that ends a dirty laundry airing by claiming he wants privacy. I can't believe he stole Harry and Meghan's entire gig in one weekend. Even my brothers were sent to attack me on social media before they ultimately blocked me out of nowhere this summer. And yet his brother Cruz called Brooklyn out first, saying that Brooklyn blocked the entire family. So which is it? Now comes the first dance debacle, and I have scathing proof that Brooklyn and Nicola were likely behind the media game in which Brooklyn claims his parents are running. The dancing lie. Brooklyn wrote, "My mom hijacked my first dance with my wife, which had been planned weeks in advance, to a romantic love song. In our 500 wedding guests, Mark Anthony called me to the stage, where in the schedule was planned to be a romantic dance with my wife, but instead, my mom was waiting to dance with me instead. She danced very inappropriately on me in front of everyone. I've never felt more uncomfortable or humiliated in my entire life." This statement is absolutely insane for 3 reasons. 1, it's a blatant lie that is contradicted by Vogue, which covered the wedding, and could be contradicted by the 500 witnesses too. 2, accusing your mother of inappropriately dancing on you while ending your statement talking about how uncomfortable and humiliated you felt, aka the same emotions your mother probably felt, having her own son say that about her on his Instagram, is pretty wild. And now, everyone is overanalyzing Victoria anytime she dances, including previous videos of her dancing with Nicola and Brooklyn, or anyone in general. It's pretty crazy. And finally, the 3rd reason, this exact story was told to People magazine first 8 months ago, exact wording and all. What are the odds that it was Brooklyn and Nicola conspiring with the media months ago, and when no one paid attention, Brooklyn regurgitated the story months later? Check it out. People magazine reported in May 2025 that a source tells People that Brooklyn and Nicola were hurt after Brooklyn's mother Victoria allegedly hijacked a dance at the wedding. The source continues saying, Mark Anthony, who is a friend of the Beckhams, offered to perform as a gift at the wedding. Before the song began, Mark Anthony asked Brooklyn to come to the stage and then announced, "The most beautiful woman in the room tonight, come on up, Victoria Beckham." This exact Victoria hijacked the dance, narrative, and wording didn't magically appear in January 2026. It was already fed to People magazine back in May 2025, right as Brooklyn was actively distancing himself from his family. Same phrasing and framing. So we're supposed to believe that some random unnamed source just happened to use the exact word hijacked months earlier? Or is it more likely that Brooklyn and Nicola were already taking this story to the press during the height of the rift, one that no one really cared about at the time, and now he's repackaging it as a shocking personal revelation? And ironically, after that story went public, Nicola posted to her Instagram story, "I would choose my mom to be my mom in every lifetime, again and again and again." A sweet gesture, sure, but one that even the media took as Nicola's response to reports of Victoria hijacking their first dance. What do you think? Now here's the thing, Nicola and Brooklyn did have their first dance to Elvis Presley's Can't Help Falling in Love, sung by Loiso. The fact that Brooklyn blatantly lies shows that both he and Nicola's intentions were malicious because you're literally photographed having your first dance, so why lie? He also deliberately paints the Marc Anthony segment as if it was in the middle of the wedding and not the start of what was essentially the after party where everyone got lit on the dance floor. Vogue recounts the story saying, at 11 p.m., the circular stage revolved around 180 degrees and Marc Anthony magically appeared for a live set. Brooklyn invited his mother on the stage for a dance and they were joined by David and their 10-year-old daughter. Brooklyn invited her to the stage. You guys need to understand that something like Vogue covering your wedding is pre-planned and approved in advance by everyone, so if this was a lie and Brooklyn was humiliated like he claims, on what basis is Vogue reporting that you invited your mother to the stage? Here's what I will say. It is pretty awkward that someone else is called the most beautiful woman in the room and it's not the bride. I'm with Nicola and Brooklyn on that. And it seems like something that was also not intentional since it was Marc Anthony who said it and it was probably in the heat of the moment. For the sake of fairness, here it is from Brooklyn and Nicola's perspective. Remember that People magazine source? Well, they claimed that Nicola felt that Victoria ruined her wedding and couldn't understand why. A second insider adds that the entire room was so shocked that Marc Anthony called Victoria's name over Nicola's that a complete silence followed. It was such a jaw-dropping moment that it left the whole room in absolute shock. You could hear a pin drop, the second source adds. Guests were allegedly even more surprised when Victoria began slow dancing with her son. It wasn't appropriate, the source said of the alleged moment, adding that everyone saw Nicola run from the room crying. Nicola felt like Victoria did this on purpose when she knew it was a pre-planned romantic dance meant for Brooklyn and Nicola. What she couldn't understand was why. The DJ at the wedding recounts what happened, saying,
Marc Anthony was performing on stage. He then called Brooklyn onto stage. Brooklyn went onto the stage where the next minute everyone was expecting it to be Nicola to go up and do the first dance. Marc Anthony asks the most beautifulest woman in the room to come to the stage. And then he says, Victoria, come to the stage. So Victoria's by the stage, she goes onto the stage. And of course, at that point, Brooklyn's like suddenly, literally devastated because he thought he was going to do his first dance with his wife. Then Nicola leaves the room crying her eyes out. Brooklyn's stuck there on stage.
However, a different source claimed that the evening played out differently. This source says that Nicola and Brooklyn had their first formal dance early in the evening, and she also had the traditional first dance with her father. Brooklyn and Nicola were reported to have 2 dances together, and that when Marc Anthony came out, it was much later in the evening when, quote, everyone was casual. Marc Anthony performed and got people dancing. Brooklyn and Victoria danced, David and Harper danced, and everyone had a great time. The inappropriate part of the dance seems like a clash of cultures because the DJ says,
and then they do this dance and Marc Anthony's like, go put your hands on your mother's hips. And it was a Latin, it's a Latin thing. And the whole situation was really awkward for everyone in the room.
He goes on to talk about how the Beckhams are just a really dancey family, and that even if other people didn't feel like it was inappropriate or awkward, it was still how Brooklyn felt. Then he discussed with the interviewers about how it was a spur-of-the-moment thing.
I've done an awful lot at Beckham parties in the past, and they're a very dancey, close-knit family. They love to dance, right? What we deem as inappropriate is not how Brooklyn feels. Yes, this is all about how Brooklyn feels. If he felt it was inappropriate and awkward, then it was inappropriate.
It seems like it happened in the spur of the moment.
It really was.
So it's so difficult to deem what is inappropriate.
A butler at the wedding says Nicola was mainly devastated when Marc Anthony called Victoria the most beautiful woman in the room, something that she reportedly saw as a final straw. The butler who witnessed it all said, to suggest the meltdown between Brooklyn and his parents was caused by Victoria twerking with him is misleading. Nicola was upset by the words from Marc Anthony that preceded the dance. Victoria has been unfairly cast as a villain of the piece. The truth is, Nicola behaved like a brat. She completely overreacted to the notion she'd been upstaged at her own wedding. After the wedding, Nicola was resolute to Brooklyn. You need to choose me or your mother. She wasn't interested in backing down. Unfortunately, Brooklyn wasn't able to stand up for his mom and explain to Nicola that she'd massively overreacted. He continued saying that Nicola is the problem and the reason Brooklyn and his parents don't talk. She told Brooklyn in regard to David and Victoria, "I don't want to be around them and you have a decision to make, me or her." Personally, I agree that that's what it all boils down to. I have a hard time seeing Victoria plotting this secretly with Mark Anthony. I think Nicola is probably triggered by Victoria and the Beckham family as a whole, so they're the scapegoats whenever something happens that wasn't necessarily planned by them. Mark Anthony is Victoria's friend, and he's, an older dude who probably couldn't read the room. It's pretty much the after hours of the wedding now, and he wants everyone to get lit and let loose. Sure, it was an unnecessary comment, but to have you leave your wedding in tears? Come on. And to have your husband now pin it on your mother as the issue when we've clearly established it was the spur-of-the-moment thing that happened much later in the wedding after all the first dance formalities were established, I mean, it's not that deep. And it also seems like it was Victoria and Brooklyn's first dance of the night. And he did it Latin style, and I guess it was too much rhythm for him. I don't know what else to say. Brooklyn basically cites that as a reason as to why they renewed their vows alone, and that so we could create new memories for our wedding day that brings us joy and happiness, not anxiety and embarrassment. You already isolated your family from the family table on the day of the wedding, had her entire family front and center at the vow renewal, with her father officiating and her wearing a repurposed gown from her mother's wedding dress, and now you're still crying about a random dance at the end of the party, the exact moment you're supposed to let loose and enjoy yourself? And he went and gave People magazine an exclusive about how he could renew his vows every single day with Nicola. So we have quite the extensive record of him talking to the press and maintaining appearances for his family. But sound the alarm when the Beckhams publicly support each other, because clearly Brooklyn has a problem with that. He has positioned himself as the ultimate victim. Exiling Nicola and the Beckhams react. After disrespecting his family publicly, whether that's lying about his mom canceling on making Nicola's wedding dress, painting her as some weirdo who hijacked his 9th dance of the night, blocking his entire family on social media, and isolating them from his vow renewal, he now wants to claim that it's Nicola being disrespected. My wife has been consistently disrespected by my family. No matter how hard we've tried to come together as one, my mom has repeatedly invited women from my past into our lives in ways that were clearly intended to make us both uncomfortable. The only woman I saw making anyone uncomfortable was Selena Gomez, branding herself as part of a throuple with Nicola and Brooklyn. Calling him husband, making comments about how he only cooks when she's not around, going on solo dates with him, and all that stuff that seemingly led to the end of her friendship with Nicola, to the point where neither Nicola nor Brooklyn were even invited to Selena and Benny's wedding. Now, Nicola deleted a bunch of her photos with Selena and posted, "Some friendships come with expiration dates." Honestly, it seems like Brooklyn has way bigger issues to worry about than mommy allegedly bringing up other women from his past, especially when he was clearly getting cozy with a former celebrity crush of his. He continues claiming that despite all this apparent oppression he's faced, he still traveled to London for his dad's birthday but were rejected for a week as we waited in a hotel room trying to plan quality time with him. He refused all of our attempts unless it was at his big birthday party with 100 guests and cameras at every corner. I don't know, I have a hard time believing his recollection of events, especially when they're, "My dad refuses to see me unless it's for the cameras." He's painting his family as this money-hungry, attention-grabbing family, when in reality, that attention and relevancy is what Nicola has always yearned for. She has money, sure, but she doesn't have relevance and attention. And yet somehow, she's convinced Brooklyn of the opposite. A show business source tells the Daily Mail that, with Nicola, it's all about the name. The name is the aim of the game. While they might be richer than the Beckhams, the Peltz name doesn't open doors in the same way. You have to ask whether the public would even know who Nicola is if she hadn't met Brooklyn. Now we have a source telling ET that Nicola is grateful that Brooklyn stood up for her publicly. Her family has basically adopted Brooklyn. He feels like he's not even a Beckham anymore. An adopted husband. Okay. Brooklyn continues, "When he finally agreed to see me, it was under the condition that Nicola wasn't invited. It was a slap in the face. Later, when my family traveled to LA, they refused to see me at all." If your entire family put up with Nicola for years after the wedding, what suddenly prompted them to change their minds? There is something he isn't saying, and I've seen this play out with Harry and Meghan. When Harry's family didn't want to see him with Meghan there, it's because she got into his head, had him spreading lies in the press. And this is a fact. There were lies that they had to apologize for or pretend never happened. And then they went out to air out the family's dirty laundry and texts in Netflix episodes and books. So what exactly did Nicola do to have an entire family who supported her, despite axing them from the wedding and shared honeymoon, not want to see her?
My mum and dad love her. You know, everyone gets along, which I'm so happy about. And my dad was just like, just take care of her and just, you know, work hard and, you know, just always do romantic things.
If Brooklyn's family was toxic this whole time, why didn't he cut ties with them beforehand? He knows what people are going to say, and they're gonna put Nicola at fault because it's not like she's losing anyone from her family. Oh no, they've always been involved. It's always been the Beckhams who got the short end of the stick while Nicola's constantly gaining. She hasn't had to give up anything. My family values public promotion and endorsements above all else. Brand Beckham comes first. Family love, in quotation marks, is decided by how much you post on social media or how quickly you drop everything to show up and pose for a family photo op, even if it's at the expense of our professional obligations. Brooklyn's career, cooking content, mediocre photography, and endorsements has been built almost entirely on the visibility and access that brand Beckham provides. So when he frames appearances as coming at the expense of his professional life, he needs to understand that the brand he's criticizing is also the reason those professional obligations exist in the first place. What's honestly hilarious is that Nicola and Brooklyn have spent years trying to build a brand around their relationship, and it's failed miserably. The only time anyone seems remotely interested is when Brooklyn drags his family into it to make himself look like the misunderstood main character. I've watched this play out in real time for years, and the uncomfortable truth is that the general public just does not care about their relationship on its own. Strip away the Beckham last name and the family drama, and there's nothing there that actually holds attention. Don't take my word for it. Go look at their social media. The engagement tells the story. The food videos, the couple content, the artsy photo shoots, none of it moves unless there's controversy attached. And 2025 really proved that. The interest only spiked when the feud with his family became public. Even things like Nicola and Brooklyn posting a "showing our friends how he proposed" video, years after the fact, scream desperation for relevance. That's not organic storytelling. That's two people begging the audience to care about a brand that just isn't landing. They held a whole funeral for her pet chihuahua, and while it is devastating when a pet dies, what do you call posing in front of its casket and grave, asking someone to take a photo while you literally hold the pose and then post it to social media? Nicola then proceeded to sue the groomer over the death of her chihuahua, accusing the groomer of animal abuse. She really strikes me as someone who treats animals like royalty but people horribly. Brooklyn then complains that they always show up for brand Beckham, every fashion show, every party, and every press activity to show our perfect family. But the one time my wife asked for my mom's support to save displaced dogs during the LA fires, my mom refused. Had the roles been reversed and it was Nicola who had something to show up for, he would show up obediently without a stutter. It seems like he's mad his family is booked and busy, and he's, well, cooking random recipes on Instagram that aren't clicking with the general public. He's also framing it like his mom refusing to show up to one specific event is some kind of moral failure, when in reality, Victoria Beckham is a grown woman with her own career and obligations. Instead of saying, "my mom couldn't make it and that hurt," he turns it into proof of some grand conspiracy about brand Beckham versus real love. We don't know her side of the story at all. She could have had something to do, or simply didn't feel comfortable turning a devastating situation like the LA fires into a public-facing moment. Performative celebrities got dragged during the LA wildfires, and not to bring up Meghan and Harry again, but they know that best. It's also entirely possible that David and Victoria chose to support the LA wildfires privately, through donations, rather than showing up to piggyback on a tragedy in a way that could come off as performative. They already run and support multiple charities, mostly based in the UK, and have long-standing philanthropic work there. So realistically, what business do they have centering themselves in an LA crisis just to satisfy someone else's optics? And the fact that a week after Brooklyn's Ramble, he and Nicola both posted about rescuing a puppy, I mean, it just feels calculated. Like, it's not about awareness or impact, but literally about trying to be like, look, we're so charitable and all we want to do is save puppies while my evil mother struts around Fashion Week. Since he looks crazy rambling like a madman against his family, of course he has to clarify what everyone feels is the issue. Nicola. The narrative that my wife controls me is completely backwards. I have been controlled by my parents for most of my life.
I'm lucky enough that I have one Patek that my dad bought me for my 21st birthday, which is it's like my favorite watch.
I grew up with overwhelming anxiety. For the first time in my life since stepping away from my family, that anxiety has disappeared. Most people would probably have anxiety after this 6-page public rant about how much you hate your family, but okay. I wake up every morning grateful for the life I chose and have found peace and relief. This man has been married for nearly 4 years, so he hasn't been living at home and probably wasn't before that. Anyone who has found peace and relief isn't ranting to the world on Instagram with really damning claims made to intentionally hurt your family who actually hasn't spoken about you negatively, at least in public. My wife and I do not want a life shaped by image, press, or manipulation. All we want is peace, privacy, and happiness for us and our future family. I'm telling you right now, that is a complete lie, and you're going to see as the years come. Brooklyn should think about going into comedy, because how do you end a whole family expose with, "I want privacy and peace"? This whole drama has brought more attention and chaos to Brooklyn and Nicola than staying silent would have. So it leads me to believe that they want the opposite of what they claim. His younger brother Cruz posted and deleted this TikTok captioned, "Imagine hating and we're just here like." Meanwhile, Victoria's song "Not Such an Innocent Girl" soared to #1 on the UK iTunes chart. David seemingly responded to the drama when he appeared on CNBC's Squawk Box to discuss the dangers of social media, saying that he's always tried to teach his kids to use it for the right reasons and that children are allowed to make mistakes. That's how they learn. That's what I try to teach my kids. But you know, you have to sometimes let them make those mistakes as well. After all this drama, Brooklyn and Nicola then did a little pap walk on the beach to, you know, prove how happy, unbothered, and in love they are. Nothing says that like a staged pap walk on an empty beach. What's crazy about this is that Brooklyn reportedly signed a prenup in 2022, which means he will not gain any of the Peltz' billionaire family fortune if he and Nicola were to split. It's very much, "Good luck, buddy, I didn't tell you to drag your parents," and his parents are gonna look at him like, "Well, you did this to yourself and now actually our brand is suffering." Because as we'll see in a second, it's not like the Brooklyn Beckham brand has much to offer on its own. It's actually pretty scary. What do Brooklyn and Nicola have to offer? Nicola is famous because she's supposedly an actress, but her first film role in 4 years was as Lola James in her self-written and self-directed movie, Lola. The film was widely criticized and it grossed just $648 at the box office. The plot centers around Lola James, who is an exotic dancer with a cocaine addiction by night and a drugstore clerk by day. The Guardian described Lola as poverty porn, the exploitation of conditions of poverty for entertainment and artistic recognition, adding that Lola, whose protagonist careens from one traumatic experience to the next, doesn't explore hardship, it exploits it. The Beckham family came out to support her alongside her family, Elon Musk, and former bestie Selena Gomez. The Guardian notes that what makes Lola such a flagrant example of poverty porn is just how careless the project feels in the context of Peltz Beckham's exceptionally lavish life. And before that, she had a credit for Holiday, a romantic comedy, but it was a cameo role where she appeared for like a minute. So it's safe to say that most people know her for being Brooklyn Beckham's wife, and Brooklyn, well, he is known for being really bad at things. In 2017, he began a photography degree at Parsons School of Design at the New School in New York. He failed to complete the first year of the 4-year course and then abandoned his degree. His book, What I See, was then published in June 2017. Take this photography book for example. Here we have a picture of an elephant that is captioned, "Elephants in Kenya. So hard to photograph, but incredible to see," and it's literally the worst photo of an elephant you've seen. Smoking is bad, but I love how the light illuminates his hands and face. Dinner. I like this picture. It's out of focus, but you can tell there's a lot going on. And it's a very blurry, grainy, dark wannabe Pinterest photo that wouldn't even get any pins on Pinterest because I'm looking at nothing. His parents paid and helped launch his photography career to give him something to do. I mean, he had a whole exhibition in London in 2017, and Vogue said it was quite the accomplishment for the 18-year-old who only picked up a camera when he opted for photography. His family made up the majority of subjects in his photography, you know, the same family he's now putting on blast, saying that they have given him anxiety.
All fun to shoot, I mean, because I'm so close to them, because I have such a good relationship with them, it's easier to take photos of them.
He's a good boy, that's all we want for our children, you know, for them to be passionate and for them to be good and polite kids.
At the time of his book's release, he faced a lot of backlash and his publisher had to defend him saying, "What I See is a book for teenagers by a teenager." He basically abandoned photography now and took up cooking. In 2022, he published an online video series called Cooking with Brooklyn. The show was criticized for taking 62 professionals to create each episode at a reported cost of $100,000 per episode, especially with Brooklyn's lack of professional experience and training. And yet, he's still got a gig on the Today Show to show us his big recipe: sausage, bacon, and eggs on untoasted bread.
Or you break the yolk. Just like that? Okay. Just like that.
Just like that, and all he's doing is cracking open an egg. Behold, an assembly of the most basic breakfast meal, an egg sandwich.
Put it together.
Yes.
What you got?
So I first put the sausage.
Sausage. Yes, come on, Brooklyn. Oh, yeah. Look at all that. No, wait, what about the ketchup?
Ketchup.
Oh,
very nice.
The ketchup. That's a good touch.
I don't tell
Brooklyn.
you.
Yeah, it actually.
You could tell everyone's trying their hardest to be supportive, mainly because he's a Beckham. No other amateur would get a gig to show us the blandest egg sandwich on television unless they're a Nepo baby. The issue with Brooklyn is that he's not even good at what he does. Take a look at this video of him pulling out a blowtorch to toast an already toasted toast. When he was approached by Daniel Mack while driving a McLaren worth $1.2 million, he tried to cosplay as a self-made chef.
Ooh. Hey man, what do you do for a living? Your car's awesome.
Oh my god, I know you.
Yeah, Daniel Mack, you seen it? What's up, bro?
I'm a chef.
You're a chef?
Yeah.
Really? Are you like the best chef in the world?
When asked for advice to those trying to get into cooking, Brooklyn was like,
just follow your passion, whatever makes you happy.
That's awesome, man.
See, the issue at hand isn't about being untalented. It's easy to be untalented when you grow up privileged because you're never pushed to do anything where you can develop a skill for survival or for fun. It's why all these Nepo babies are having a hard time making an impression on literally anyone. But the issue here is when you become a hypocrite and you start mistaking your privilege as trauma. At the end of the day, this isn't a story about a real hardship, not war, not poverty, not loss. It's about a high-fashion wedding dress disagreement and a pretty standard family clash, the kind most families deal with privately without blowing it up into a whole public fallout. And weddings are stressful for almost everyone because they come with pressure, money issues, and clashing expectations. But in this case, the stress didn't come from lack or sacrifice, it came from things not being absolutely perfect. The wedding still happened, it was over the top, money wasn't an issue, and yet, because it didn't go exactly the way certain people imagined, it's now being framed as some deep emotional trauma. When someone's never really faced real life-changing hardship, even small pushback can feel unbearable. And when you're not used to people setting limits, it can feel like they're attacking you. And when disappointment doesn't happen often, even a tiny setback can feel like the end of the world. And I feel like that's the case with Brooklyn and his family. They want him to think clearly and not isolate them or maybe have his wife run the show, the same wife with a horrible reputation, and suddenly he thinks he's having panic attacks. This isn't to invalidate anything he and Nicola supposedly went through, but when the most you have to complain about is a lie about a wedding dress and a famous Latin singer calling your mom beautiful, it definitely feels like a reach. Real trauma doesn't come with press statements or calculated stories, it's usually quiet and experienced by people without platforms or ways to reshape the narrative. This isn't about dismissing anyone's feelings, it's about perspective. And when you're trying to weaponize the media to build your brand's relevance, well, that says it all. Let's wrap up this video on some awkward moments. Check out Brooklyn trying to pull Nicola into frame while David and Victoria are still posing. Brooklyn kind of looks around awkwardly and Nicola doesn't look that happy. Watch her stank face and attitude here, it's very telling. Victoria doesn't pay them any mind. When David notices, the entire family comes to frame to pose. Notice how Brooklyn wasn't waiting for them to finish posing for their photos, by the way. And this happened at the London premiere of David's Netflix documentary, Beckham, in October 2023. Here's another video from a 2022 outing where Nicola keeps her back to Victoria the whole time as she tries to join in on the convo multiple times, leading Victoria to keep talking to Brooklyn, who keeps trying to get Nicola's attention by putting his hands on her waist. Or this video where you can see Nicola's sweet, heartwarming smile completely dropping into this stank face when she faces away from the cameras. A source told the Daily Mail that Nicola's father, Nicola Peltz, is set to take an increasingly dim view of his British in-laws. The Peltzes reportedly see the Beckhams as tacky and sneer at Victoria's past as a Spice Girl. A friend says, while both families are super rich, Nelson sees himself as statesman-like, while the Beckhams are much more new money. This has led to much snobbery on the Peltz side. They think they are way above the Beckhams when it comes to class and wealth. And I think that's another thing people aren't factoring in. Well guys, that's the whole drama and feud explained from top to bottom. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Are you team Beckham family or team Brooklyn and Nicola? What do you think is going down and how do you see this playing out in the long run? Be sure to like and subscribe for new videos every single week. Put those post notifications on so you don't miss the live chat premiere we do for every single video. Follow us on our social media, and as always, I'll see you next time. Bye.